back to Sassy Jack's Yonder Ways. So I'll make an honest admission. I recorded most of the video earlier and it was very rambly, very, very rambly. So I may go back and edit it and finish it up and post it for you later. But I thought we might just start over on this cool thing. So if you have not subscribed to our channel, I would ask you to please do so. We would love it if you did. It will notify you then when we post a video. So whether it's one of these videos, which is just kind of a fun chat, or whether it's a learning video like the learning stitches or the needlepoint that we're getting ready to do. So if you subscribe to that, then I think you get notified when we post a new one, and that would be fantastic. So we would appreciate it. So Yonder Ways, for those of you who aren't familiar with Yonder Ways is a play on words and names. My last name is Young and my husband's last name is Ponder. And so Yonder is just kind of a combination of that. And Yonder is also a Southern colloquialism. And we use that phrase here a lot to denote distance of a sort. So when we say over yonder, it's not too far. If we say it's over yonder a ways, it could be a good long way. And way is kind of an old English word for technique or how to do something. And so we like that. One day that will be the name of our classroom building. So we have a beautiful space here. We have a classroom space upstairs that we added fantastic lighting to, and we've got great audio visual, and there's a few videos out there of the space that are really nice. So we love it here. But we do own an old folk Victorian down the road that we need to finish up the rehab on so that we can move in there. Our problem is that we also need a classroom building down there now. And, going through this process of being closed down, shipping, and all that good stuff has enlightened us to many things about this shop. And one of them is that we really need a little bit different space. And so we may end up trying to finish that stuff up and get down there at some point relatively soon. I think we'll be here for at least another year, so don't panic or anything. But, keep in the back of your mind that we've got another something special up our sleeves. And I think you'll love the house. It's got a great feel to it. It's a beautiful house. It still has a lot of its antique glass in the windows. And, any classroom building that we build there will suit the house and just be a lovely addition. So we're looking forward at some point to getting down there. It's on the same street that we're on right now. Take the back roads about 3 miles and you'll be there. So it's kind of between us and the city of Asheville. It's in my hometown of Woodfin, North Carolina. And Mr. Woodfin was actually a pretty prestigious man in the Asheville area himself. There's a few things named after him. And the name of the house is the Zebulon H. Baird House. It's on the National Listing of Historic Places. And it was built by a man named Zebulon H. Baird, I figure. But he was brother to another man who, the two of those guys did business in the city of Asheville. They were merchants way, way back in the day. And he built this house, and he had hundreds and hundreds of acres of property, which have now all been sold off and developed, except for this little house, which he had one son, and his son, I think his name was Henry, and Henry lived in the house until he died. He was about 90 years old, I think, and he was a local here in, Woodfin and Weaverville, and people knew him. I probably ran across him at some point, just don't remember him, but he was alive up until 1990, I think. So, I was a grown woman then off, in college somewhere. So, a neat history for that house. And when you walk into that house, it has this really warm, hopeful feel. And that's why I've always described it. It's just from the moment that, I went into that house, and anytime I've ever bought a property, especially an older property, I go inside and I just stand really still. And I usually try to do it by myself. And I stand in the house for a little while, and I walk around and I look at things and I think about it and I feel. And this house had just a really hopeful feel to it. And hope is going to be a theme today. We're going to talk about hope. But anyway, something to look forward to, is our move down there. And if you are interested in where we've gone on this journey with that house, there's a Facebook page out there called The Baird House Becoming Sassy Jack Stitchery or something like that. If you search for Baird House in Woodfin or Weaverville or Sassy Jack Stitchery, something around in there, it'll pop up for you. And I know a lot of you have joined that page. And I haven't posted anything out there in a long time because honestly I haven't done anything over there. It's terrible. It's on our list though. And if we had time right now, if we were some folks that were, not working, because my husband works for the DOT, so he is actually still working too, we would be over there working on that house. And so there's a big part of me that's really drawn there to get it finished. And I just love that house. I hope you'll love it too. It'll be a really special place, really different from here, but just really, really special place. It's pretty cool. We've already done some really cool things. We had a local artist make a custom stained glass artwork for the transom that goes over the front door, because that was gone when we bought the house, and we had to widen the door to make it handicap accessible. So we just had her do a new one, and it's a beautiful fall version of the Blue Ridge Mountains, and it's just stunning. And she's a local artist from Hendersonville, North Carolina. And we had some gorgeous heartwood pine doors made from old wood in an old style of 5-panel doors to be put in our hallway that would close off our shop if we wanted to use the upstairs room for guests. And they stained them this really gorgeous, pretty blue. And we got those in Shipshawana. I think it's in Indiana. It's right on the border of Michigan and Indiana. It might be Michigan. I don't know. I know my friends will give me a geography lesson after this. But anyway, we ordered it one year in September. We were at a needlework conference with Susan Greening Davis, and the next year we picked them up. So there's some funny pictures out there of us driving those back from a long way away on top of our little Subaru. I think we bought an old Subaru to do it. I want to say the Mini, because we've driven lots of things around on the Mini, but I believe it was the Subaru. So anyway, we've done some really fun, neat things with the house and just tried to preserve its history and its character. And we love that house, and the locals love that house. And I hope that you join that little group of people and you love that house too. We'll look forward to sharing it with you. So a little bit of hope. And I'll come back to hope as we move this video, because I've got something to share with you that I find quite entertaining that you might too, and it might make you feel better about some things. So before I do that, but before I do that, I want to talk to you about Hannah Longstreth, 1805. So this is the cover photo for Hannah, and this is a Queenstown sampler design. This is our May 1st Stitch Along Start with Fiber Talk. So you can get this chart at any of your needlework shops. You can get it kitted anywhere. So feel free to support your local needlework shops. It's not exclusive to us. We hope you kit it with us, but as long as you support a true brick and mortar needlework shop, I'm all for it. We need those guys, all of us. We want all of us to survive this. And so money spent at a true brick and mortar, because remember, your brick and mortars are still paying rent right now for the most part. And they may be paying rent for their personal homes too, with their businesses shut down. But, most leaseholders of commercial leases aren't making a lot of accommodations. Some of them maybe are helping a little bit. Our landlord's been really good. But, just if you can't at all support a brick and mortar, because they all do phone orders and online orders, some version of that, please try to do that rather than just, not that I don't like the online folks, but right now they're not struggling with the same issues that we are. They don't have the high overhead to deal with that we have to deal with right now. So, now is the time to, for sure and certain, support your local brick and mortars. We would love for you to do that. It doesn't have to be us, just, help one of our friends, because we all know and love each other in the business. So, hair wispy. So Hannah Longstreth, we've mailed out, I think, all but like 2 or 3 kits that we got in sometime this week. So we've got plenty of fiber, we've got plenty of fabric. We gave linen options in 37 count Russian tea cake from Legacy Linen and 45 count, I was going to forget the name of it. jersey cream. And the model was stitched on 45 count jersey cream from Legacy Linen. So if you don't want to do the 45 count, the 37 count's a great alternative. 37 count from Legacy Linen is a solid dye. It's not an over dyed linen. It's beautiful linen. And it's very easy to see relative to other 36 and 40 counts because it is a solid dye, which means the fabric has not been processed. It's not been dyed, washed, dried, ironed, all that jazz. So if you are thinking about whether or not you can see on a 37 count, you probably can. If you can stitch on a 32 count over dye, you probably can stitch on a 37 count solid dye. And if you need a swatch or something like that, we've got tons of little swatches. Just let me know. I'll drop one in the mail. Let me know by email. Because right now we're trying to get through email. Tough for us to answer the phone these days, but send me an email. We'll get you settled. Okay, so Hannah Longstreth, you notice that it's got all these cool motifs and it's got a squirrel. We love it. So super stoked about this. If you are one of the people who would like to jump outside the box a little bit, and I know there are a few of you, there are some options for banding. So I wish I could show you a picture of it, but I can't really show you a good picture of it because you could see the charting. But I had to tape one of these charts every page together, and it covered it was huge. It covered the full length of a table and about the width of two regular tables, conference room tables. It was a beast when I taped it all together. But I realized pretty quickly that I needed to do that to make sure that I had counted every motif. So I went through and I counted every motif, width and height. And then I added some spaces in for, to give you some between motifs. And I even counted the name. And then I calculated how much room you needed on a 27-28 count banding, whether you went horizontally, which is like a row, so remember that, horizontally is a row, this way, or whether you went vertically, which is up and down, like a bell pull. And I calculated how much banding you would need if you wanted to have enough room for finishing. And so it so happens that we do have some banding that's the perfect color for it. I'm going to show you with it folded over because you can get the color better. This is an antique white, and it is I call it 28 count. Sometimes the factory calls it 27 count. And honestly, I might have posted a few pictures of the looms when I went there, but it varies, run to run, whether it's 27 or 28 or somewhere in between. But it's always 27 or 28. So this is a 28 count. We call it 28. I measured it at 27 just to be sure. On this banding, you have enough room to stitch these motifs over 2 threads, which I know is what most of you want to do. Stitching over one is not fun to some people. Some people love it, and I need you to stitch me some things. And some people, like me, hate it. And I wish that friends came in groups like that, where for every one of me, there was one of you, and we were best friends, because I would give you my over one stuff, and I would be so nice to you that you would stitch it all. But only because I loved you. So this beautiful banding, you can do this sampler over 2 on. And to do it over 2 vertically, like a bell pull, like this, up and down, you need 3 yards, and that gives you some finishing room, top and bottom. If you want to do it horizontally like this, you need 3 yards and 12 inches. And so we have enough to kit a number of you. I won't say that we have enough to kit everybody who wants it. And so I've got some orders and some people who wanted it, so I'm going to hit those guys up first and get them settled. And then I will put out there the remaining fabric that I have for the rest of you to kit up like that. Now, there were a few of you that came in and said that you wanted to do it over 1. And so I spent some time this morning and I tried to find some options for you. Now, over 1, so about the widest motif on here, not including the name, is about 70 stitches. So if you want to do it over 1, you could do it on this guy, and this is antique white. I think this is a good color for it. I had some white banding, and I just don't think that's the right color for this. I think it needs to be an antique white or a cream. And this is not as creamy as the banding I just showed you. I don't know if you can see the difference in them. A little bit. A little bit more white, but it's still antique white. It's not a bright white. This would be suitable. And so I'll put some of this out there. There's not a ton of it because, again, you're going to need, if you're going to do it, you know, over one, you need about half of it. So you still need about 1.5 yards to get it done. So, and in some cases a little more than that. If you're going to do it horizontally, which is like this, you need a little more than 1.5 yards. So we'll cut it at 2 yards. If you're going to do it vertically, which is like this, you're going to need 1.5 yards, and that includes margin. So we'll cut it that way. So this will be an option for you. And if you want to take it to another color, I think this natural color would be really pretty. And it has a cream edge to it, which is why I picked this one. I think this would be really pretty for Hannah. I'm going to show you the threads. And please don't despair if you don't want to do Hannah. We've got some other things to talk about. So don't feel like this is all Hannah all day. I always struggle with this. Let me do it this way. These are some of the colors. So Hannah is calling for needlepoint ink silk, which actually I appreciate. We have both a Veriswa and needlepoint ink. But you can see all these colors look really pretty on this. And they do look really pretty on the cream, the antique white, so you don't have to worry about that. So this will be another option if you want to do it over one. If you want to do it over two, that one won't work. So on here, this looks really similar to the look and appearance on the Jersey cream. Really pretty. So you'll be very happy with that. Okay, that's Hannah. So think about that. For me, I love the sampler. I'm probably going to do it on banding because I like the idea of the little motifs. And so again, you know, think about whether you want to do it horizontally. And why the reason some people are doing it horizontally is because they're going to put it on a spool. And if they're going to put it on a spool, they want to be able to unroll parts of it on a shelf, or maybe all of it on a mantelpiece or a long shelf. And they want the motifs to be sitting this way, so that when they unroll it, you can see them. They're sitting right. If you're going to put it on a bell pull, or you want to hang your spool and just have parts of it hanging down, you'd probably want to do it vertically this way. And I don't know. I'm probably going to do it vertically. I don't know why. It just feels better to me. But I think it will be equally as pretty done horizontally. And I will be doing mine on over two. If you didn't pick up on that from the beginning, let me reassure you, it'll be over two. Although if one of you want to stitch it over one, I'll proudly love on it for me. So anyway, if you do all that work, you better keep it for yourself. I'll tell you that right now. It's a lot. So, you know, we're happy to get this stuff out. We have been getting this stuff out really quick, just to make sure that you guys have it in time, because I know you want to look at your chart and love on your chart, and, you know, make sure you are settled with the organization and stuff like that. So, I can show you my work page. Now, I won't show you my big taped together pieces, but this was my little work page of all the different. There were 25 different motif things that I measured, because I also included in there the name and stuff. So, and my measurements give you, I think I gave you 5 spaces between each motif. For those of you who order banding, I will send you this information so that you really know. But I believe I provided you 5 spaces in between each one. Yeah, I did. So I gave you 5 stitches between each motif. So if you're stitching over 2, that's 10 threads. If you're stitching over 1, it's 5 threads, which proportionally, usually people do 3 or 5 between things. So you just decide whether you want to do 3 or 5. If you want to do 3, you'll have plenty of margin. If you want to do 5, you're still going to have plenty of margin, because I put about 12 inches in there, 11 or 12 inches in there, depending on which way you were going for margin, which is lots. Because if you finish it on a spool, you probably need 4 to 5 on one end, and then on the other end you're going to just finish that off pretty clean. You might need 2, so you've got plenty of margin, so don't worry about that. Anyway, so that's Hannah Longstreth. Pretty excited about it. I hope you join us for that. I know it's going to be a lot of fun. And if you didn't see Fiber Talk recently, I think Gary and Vanna are going to have a little race on Mother's Day. So we start this May 1st. I hope I said May 1st earlier. I might have slipped up and said June 1st. It's not. It's May 1st. So I can't remember right now because I was thinking also about our Needlepoint thing, which starts July 5th. But May 1st start. So they'll be started on this on Mother's Day, and they'll have a little fun competition on their Mother's Day stitch along, which I really enjoyed their Easter stitch along. I hope you guys did too. It was fun. So that's Hannah. Alrighty, I want to share some really pretty things with you. If I were skinnier, you could see more of it. But if you look behind me, you can see Krista Grammer's pieces. So I showed you this. Krista Grammer is the owner of Just Stitching Along, the designer for Just Stitching Along. And I shared this one with you in a prior video. This is a beautiful beekeeper cottage. And you see it's got little bees here. And we do have this chart available. So this was finished by Vanna. So you could finish it this way into a flat fold. Or you can put it in a little frame. You can do this one on perforated paper. I know that one of Chris's models was stitched on perforated paper, and it's down at the attic. So this is also a beautiful one to do on perforated paper. My hair is making my nose itch. I'm so sorry. One of the beautiful new releases from market for Krista Grammer. We have several trunk shows here. We have beautiful, gorgeous models in the house. So I'm going to start sharing all those with you. And today we're doing Just Stitching Along. So we've talked about that one. I'm going to get up and show you some of the others. So this is one of the other new releases. This one is Mary Dickinson. And this one is beautiful. So I love this. I love the colors of it. The colors are kind of similar to Lucy Calcutta. I think this is just a beautiful, beautiful sampler. So this will be a nice one to stitch. It's not too big. So if you're just getting into it. I love the happy, beautiful colors on this one. I'll read it to you. Remember me when this you see, and bear me in your mind. Let all the world say as they will, speak of me as you find. Isn't that kind of a nice sentiment? So, age 17, 1842. So she was actually a little bit older when she stitched this one. So I love the little bunny rabbit on it, and I love the red bird. This to me looks like a castle, kind of. So I think that's a real pretty one. So that was one of her releases from market. And then the others that we have here are prior year's releases. So let me show you this one. This is the first Lucy Calcutta, and a lot of you who've been in the shop have seen this. So this is Lucy Calcutta 1825. Now Lucy stitched 2 samplers, and this was the first one. And so she was 8 years old when she stitched this one in 1825. And it's just a gorgeous sampler. I know a lot of you have stitched this and finished it, but I thought you'd like to see the model. And this one's been in our shop since it premiered, except for a couple of brief trips to Nashville. I have trouble putting this one down. I like the balance of it. I like that, the different motifs in it. I really like this center medallion. I like the 2 flowers that are on either side of it. I like the grapevines there. I mean, there's a lot to love in this one. Now this one has a little blank spot up here. And I saw the original antique at market when this one came out, and it has a hole there. And so because it has a hole there, Krista didn't want to invent anything that might have been there. And we don't know why it has a hole there. We don't know if there was something stitched there that they cut out, what happened to it, but it was a visible hole. And so she left it blank, and that's a great place for you to personalize it. So, I think that's a great option. It's got some beautiful deer on it. Okay, so that's Lucy Calcutta 1825. This one is called Gertrude, and I really love this one. It's a sweet little sampler. It's got a great size to it. Really pretty house. Got some neat people in it. I like this guy here. He's fun. He's playing horseshoes. If you're wondering why he's doing those are horseshoes, I think. So this one's fun, and it's a nice little size. So this one is Gertrude. And I think Krista just named this after one of her relatives or something like that, because it didn't have a name on it. It does have two fun squirrels. So that's a real pretty one. And then there's Lucy Calcutta 2. So Lucy Calcutta 2 came out last year at market. And this is the whole sampler. And it's got that big, beautiful bouquet in the middle. So, and it's got that great big red house, really pretty. And a beautiful border. I like how the border is different on the bottom versus the top. That's just a really gorgeous border. I love the swans on this one. It's got the same heart or deer. I think this is just a really gorgeous, gorgeous sampler. And this one, Lucy was 9 years old, and it was 1826. And so the same girl, two samplers. Similar colors. Does have similar motifs. Like this is a bigger version of that grapevine that was in the center of the other one. I love the vase that those flowers are in. Just this whole thing's just really beautiful. So, and we have these charts in stock. Now the cool thing about these is that the models are actually stitched in DMC. So for those of you who think that all sampler stitchers are silk snobs, we're not. You know, you've got lots of choices of what you stitch with. And cotton floss is just as beautiful in many ways. And so, especially right now, you know, if you're one of the people who's lost a lot of income, just jump over to DMC. As you can tell, these two samplers are stunning, these models. And they were both, all of them, I think even Gertrude is stitched in DMC. So, you know, now is a great time to try out some DMCs. Okay, I want to show you, I've showed you this before, but I want to show you again because I mentioned perforated paper samplers. This was, I think this was an original design. I might be wrong about that. But I did mention that the other version of this was on perforated paper. And I've shown you this before. This is a Queenstown sampler called Elizabeth Bartholomew. And this is stitched on perforated paper. This is the antique. And I love this. And I keep saying I want to stitch it. I'm going to stitch it. And I haven't stitched it. So I'm going to stitch it. I'm probably... So perforated paper, I know that there's some folks working on a high count version of it. This is probably a 22 count perforated paper, which is pretty typical for this time period. Perforated paper was very popular in the Victorian era. And so if you go to some museums, or if you have some good friends that have some collections, like I know that Needlework Press has a collection of perforated paper. Claudia Dutcher has a collection of perforated paper. My friend Lorraine Moots in Germany has an incredible collection of perforated paper. People did beautiful, amazing things on perforated paper. I've seen perforated paper samplers that are three-dimensional, that are like stacked up. And there's stitch pieces glued on top of stitch pieces that are just stunning. So perforated paper it can be very beautiful. You will know, and I think it was, it might have been our last video, but it's one of the more recent ones. I talked about the freebie that we gave away in our newsletter, and I went and posted it to our homepage. And we called it Oceans Wide, and because that's the way the verse starts out. And it's a very simple perforated paper sampler, but it was a token from one friend to another, so it was really sweet. A lot of perforated paper things were little mementos of things. They were stamp holders. Just all kinds of cool little things were made with perforated paper. When I stitch it, I don't know if I'll do it on perforated paper. I might do it both ways, just so we have model in the shop. I'd like to wait till they get some higher count perforated paper, but I can do it on the 14 count that's available now. This little border is hard to see in this frame. I need to maybe reframe it because I've not taken it out. It's in its frame that it was in when it was found by Barbara Hudson. Barbara Hudson at Queenstown owned this, and I bought it from her. So she charted it. It's part of her collection. So you can buy the chart from us or your local needlework shop. It's a Queenstown reproduction. But the little border is different colors. I don't know if you can see it too well, but they just randomly change in there. You can't really see it up on the top, but there's blue, there's red, there's green, there's kind of a peachy color. It's just really pretty. And Barbara captured that in her reproduction, which is fun. So, you know, if you want to just have some fun, you can try perforated paper. And we do have big enough pieces of perforated paper for you to stitch on. And if you like perforated paper, you can check out Claudia Dutcher's collection. She's got a number of different, both reproductions and original design on perforated paper. And we do have big pieces of perforated paper for that to be stitched on. And we can get it to you. We can put it in some pieces of cardboard to keep it from getting bent so that it gets to you. We know how to pack. So I just wanted to share that. Elizabeth Bartholomew. It's one of my favorite ones in the shop. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit of needlepoint. And I think the last time that we talked, I mentioned that we were going to put out a little freebie for you guys to do with us online. And we've got some signups on that. I've been sending out some kits for that. It's really super basic. So you're going to learn just like 4 different stitches. You're going to learn basket weave. It's just meant to familiarize you with kind of a little bit of the tools of the trade and some basic stitches and get you comfortable so that you feel competent to tackle maybe Royal Garden from Debbie Rowley Designs, which is a July 5th stitch along. So I wanted to show you another piece that I'm working on. This is a Heartland quilt patch. And this is the book for it. And this is how I keep a lot of my bigger designs, but especially my needlepoint stuff. So you can see in needlepoint, the cool thing about counting needlepoint is you get to use a lot of different types of fiber. And so this was how I stored mine at the time, and it's really how I usually still store it. But there's silk lame braid in here. There's watercolors. There's vineyard silk. There's some chronic. And then the cool thing about Michael Bourne's charts, which are the ones that we use to teach from, is that he gives you all these different colorway choices. And so you can choose, you know, a different colorway to stitch your sampler. This was our intermediate piece. So Allie actually stitched this in yellow, which I showed you the last time. And I thought you might want to see what I had done with it. I haven't picked this thing up in years, but I chose not yellow. I'm not a big fan of yellow. I'll put my hand behind it so you can see it. I usually go for greens and blues, but I think, well, I don't know when I started this, to be honest. It has been a while because Michael's been retired for a while. But these are kind of Caribbean colors. I think it's called Bermuda Reef, I think is the colorway for it. But I love this one. And it's really close to done. I could finish this probably in a day. And I just haven't picked it back up to do it. But I will. I love this one. And this was the intermediate. This is our intermediate class. So when we get through the beginner stuff, and if you guys are enjoying it, I'll try to put something out there for an intermediate one, because this is when you can pick up and do, you know, distance learning too. So I just like the fact that you get to choose different, you get to play with different fibers on this one. And you can tell this looks like a log cabin quilt. So I listened to a podcast with Fiber Talk with Debbie Rowley, and I think they were talking about quilt designs and how those flow through. Hey Kim, you've got on a different shirt. Yeah, I do. Had some technical issues yesterday, and my little computer died. So a whole day has gone by, and I do have on a different shirt. And sadly, I don't have that needlework piece with me, that needlepoint piece that I was telling you about right when the video died. I thought I had finished that before it died, but No. But I do have the true intermediate piece with me here in the shop. So yellow. So it's really pretty. And anyway, I was just telling you about how needlework pieces, needlepoint pieces often draw from quilt designs, and they do. And so you can, if you're a quilter, you can see the log cabin in here. It's real fun. So anyway, intermediate piece. If we have enough interest after we finish the beginner's piece, we'll jump in and do this one. So all of that was the lead-in for the stitch along that we're doing with Fiber Talk. We're sponsoring it, but you can get your supplies anywhere. For a Debbie Rowley design, and it's called Royal Garden, and this is what it looks like, and it looks complex, but you know, it's just a series of stitches. And so the little beginners needlepoint class that we're doing, which I recorded a little bit of it just a few minutes ago, and hopefully it'll be out there by the time you see this, just is to build confidence. And I think if you build a little confidence, you'll feel okay about this. I will tell you that I have looked through this. I've not done one of Debbie's designs, but I've looked through this, and her instructions are excellent. Really, really good. Her diagrams are great, and a good stitch diagram makes all the difference in the world. So, you know, I think the fact that the stitch diagram is excellent, and you've got Vonna and Gary who are going to be stitching it. I'm going to jump in and stitch it. I think you can get through it. And, you know, if you're ever wanted to try needlepoint, now's your time. You know, jump in and give it a try. The little beginners kit is out there for you if you want to do our beginners class. The class itself is free online. You do have to have some canvas, and you do have to have you could do it with floss, but we're using watercolors because we like to see the variation in it. So a little $15 kit gets you 3 pieces of canvas, one to practice, one to do the design on, and one to do a back finish if you want to. 2 needles and a skein of watercolors. It's basically cost. And with the free shipping that we're doing right now until we reopen our doors, it's definitely a cost. So you don't need any stretcher bars or anything to do that one. So jump in and give it a shot. You know, the first video will be up soon. You can watch that first video, decide if you want to try it. We do start out with basket weave. Basket weave, I feel like, is the most challenging needlepoint stitch out there. It's just hard. Once you know it, you know it. It's like anything else. But it's hard to get the memory, the muscle memory around the pattern, I think, to see it sometimes. So I tried to do my best to count it, to show it to you. And I think if you practice it and you watch that video a few times, you will get it. And you don't have to use it a lot. It just is kind of the very basic needlepoint stitch. And if it's done correctly, now a lot of people don't do it right. A lot of people do it a little differently, which makes it easier. And it's not a true basket weave then. But I'm going to show you a true basket weave. Anyway, feel free to take a look at that video and decide if you want to join. Now, I have put a placeholder out there for the Royal Garden kit. The Royal Garden kit from us at Sassy Jacks will contain the chart that I just showed you and the supplies to stitch with, except for the stretcher bars and the tacks, because you may already have those, or you may elect to get a different set of stretcher bars. The tacks are on our website. You can buy those. The stretcher bars are on our website. You can buy those. I will put a little kitted price out there and call it Royal Garden, stretcher bar kit if you want to get those. The stretcher bars that we sell here in the shop are just your plain Jane stretcher bars. They're just, a few bucks a piece. These are 18-inch stretcher bars. You need 2 sets because you have to make a square. And I will do you a little video showing you how to do the square. Now, if you have been watching Fiber Talk and you've seen those stretcher bars that Gary's using, give it a try. They seem very affordable to me. I don't know that I can get them to sell them here in the shop. I know the guy's probably right now overwhelmed with all the Fiber Talk business coming his way. So it's probably not an item that I'm going to be able to get for you any quicker than you can get it yourself from the maker. And I'm all for you supporting the maker right now. People are at home, not able to do their other jobs, and that goes a long way. So please support the maker. If you like those adjustable stretcher bars, go out there and pick those up. If you want to just try the basics, these are great. People have used these for generations. They're very inexpensive, and you just thumbtack your piece on here. So you get a set of thumbtacks. Now these are not the same kind of tacks that you buy in Walmart. They are a little bit more durable. and they're a little bit stronger, it's thicker, and they have a little toolie in here that will help you pop them out because you'll want to reuse them. So the difference between this kind of stretcher bar and the ones that are adjustable is that if you have this piece going for a long time and you don't finish it relatively quickly, or you pull out a lot, you're going to have to re-stretch it. That's why they're called stretcher bars. You make a square out of this and you stretch the canvas over and you put the push pins in along the edge. And so if that canvas becomes a little bit looser, because you want it to be pretty drum, almost drum tight, like tunk, tunk, tunk. If you touch it, it should be kind of tight. And if yours is loose, then you really need to take it off and re-stretch it. So you have to pull the pins out and redo it. Where if you have an adjustable set of bars, they have a little screw here in the corners, and you can screw that screw and it'll make the bar spread just a little bit, and it stretches that canvas a little bit tighter as you go. So that's the difference in it. Needlepoint. I think that's all the needlepoint stuff we had to talk about. I wanted to share with you something really cool that happened. So in one of my videos, I talked about a theft that we had at the Baird house, and how bummed I was about that and all that jazz. So that happened. And then last week sometime, I was walking through the dining room at home, and there was a wooden hoop on the floor. And I picked it up and I looked at it and I said, wait a minute. And I took that hoop over and held it under my magnifier, and I said, that's a princess hoop. So this is a princess hoop. And I know it's a princess hoop because it has a stamp on it right here that says princess hoop. And I had never had a princess hoop, and I thought, where did that princess hoop come from? Because I didn't remember my mother ever having a princess hoop. Her hoops, from my memory, were all metal. And I've heard all kinds of great things about Duchess hoops and princess hoops. And the main difference is a Duchess hoop has some felt in here to make this hold a little bit tighter. I don't have one, so I don't know. I've seen some. They're really beautiful. But these were made by, I want to say it was a company called Gibbs Manufacturing. And they started business in the late 1800s. I think their patent was from 1898, late 1800s. And they made this spring hoop. You see this one's kind of rusted. And then they made some other kinds with some screws, and then they made Duchess hoops. And so anyway, this hoop just magically shows up in my house, which I'm like, that's awesome. Thank you, Hoop Fairy. And so I went to who I thought might be the Hoop Fairy, which was my husband. And I said, hey, do you know where that hoop came from? And he's like, what's a hoop? And so I thought, maybe not. And so I took the princess hoop over there. I said, this is a hoop. He goes, oh yeah. He goes, I think, maybe, I'm not sure, but you know that box that got turned over in the storage building at the Baird house when it was broken into? And I said, yeah, because they broke into our storage building and our house. And in the storage building, they just threw stuff around. They didn't really tear anything up. Thank you for that, anonymous thief. But they did dump a bunch of stuff out. And one of the boxes was a box of things that had been given to me. And I didn't have a chance to go through it. And so I just took it over there to storage because we were having classes and I needed to get it out of my way. And I hadn't gotten back to it. And he's not sure, but he thinks that this hoop was in there. And so it was like a little gift. And so I was just over the moon with this hoop. And so it came to me kind of out of this terrible act of theft, because I potentially could have just donated that whole box somewhere else if I got in a hurry. Usually I look through them all and, I try to find homes for things and some things, I might want. But, this hoop had a wonderful life. I can tell. Somebody loved on this hoop, and it got a lot of use, and it is stinking perfect. So let me tell you, I immediately took this hoop and put my needlework on it and started stitching. And outside of the Hardwick Manor hoops that we sell here that I have that are wrapped, this is the best hoop I've ever stitched on. And honestly, it's as good as those. So, I can't sell you a princess hoop. I don't have any. I know they're pretty affordable online. If you go out to eBay and the Bay of Evil, wherever, you know, look through some of your grandmother's stuff or your aunt or whoever. But, you know, next time somebody gives you a box of stuff and you're like, I don't have time to go through that, make a little time to go through that. I was just like, holy cow. And it's not like it's worth a ton of money. You know, I mean, I think you can get them for $20 or less online. But you got to go through the trouble to find it. And they're not all in great shape. But just the fact that this is a beautiful hoop. I love the patina on it. I love that it's had hands all over it. I just am in love with this hoop. And the fact that it came to me through the Baird house, which I also love that house. That house was built in 1878. I love that house. You will love that house one day too. It was just a wonderful, like, the Louisianans, whatever you call yourself down there, would call this a lanyap. It was a little something extra. And it was a blessing, is what it was. It was a blessing to me. And I'm so appreciative of it. But I just wanted to share that with you because it was something really, to me, very beautiful that came out of something that was not very beautiful. And I think that's the way of the world. And so, you know, put good out into the world and good will come back to you, even through things that aren't good. So I'm pretty stoked about this Princess hoop, and I'm using it. And that's the beauty of something like this. And like the tools that your mom had or your grandmother had, they still work. They still work. Get them out and use them, love them, you know, and try to give them to somebody else who'll use them and love them. And just like the person, whoever gave me this box, I don't know where it came from. I really don't remember. But they did it out of love. It came from a family member who was no longer with them, I'm sure. And they didn't want to just take it to Goodwill. They wanted to get it somewhere where people would appreciate what was in there because their loved one appreciated what was in there. And it made its way. You know, this hoop would be hard-pressed to be more loved than it is right now. So, anyway, it's the little things. So, treasure the little things. And, you know, I need to unpack more boxes. That's the moral of that story. And then I want to share something else with you that I mentioned at the beginning that this was a video of hope. I don't even know how else to lead into this. I just find it very entertaining. So, the framer that we use here locally is retiring. That's very sad. Trust me, I'm very bummed about that. But I went to see her this week, and she had something for me that I had to pick up that I had left there. And she basically had closed her business right before this pandemic started. So timing could not have been better for her. So she had actually already planned for retirement and everything, and she her business was already downcycled and closed, basically. So this is not impeding her, except that she, you know, has to wait to move. She's moving to Lexington. She's got horses and stuff and wants to move over there. So, Kentucky. So anyway, I want to show you first a very beautiful, gorgeous piece, which I have shown before. But this piece was stitched by my friend Sharon Huffsteller, and it is beautiful, absolutely stunning. And this is MH, my beloved, and it's a hats design. And Sharon just did a beautiful job with it, and she agreed to let us keep it on display here in the shop. We have some really beautiful pieces here in the shop, and I'm going to be working through some more of those, and giving you more, you know, trunk show type things like that. But I want to show you this piece of Sharon's, and then I want to show you how hopeful it made me. So let me grab it. Okay. I'm going to stand back here so you can see it, because it's a big, big piece. All right. So, just a beautiful piece. Let's see if I can get up closer for you so you can see some of the, lots of glare because it's under glass. Her needlework is just stunning. Just a beautiful piece, right? And if you decide to stitch it, of course, we have the chart and we have all the supplies for it. So after I had it framed, I was like, wow, that's beautiful. That's the perfect frame for it. And I need it. And one day I'll stitch it. That's what I'm thinking. One day I'll stitch it. And I think it's even museum quality glass. Yeah, this is even museum glass. It's got some glare on it because we've got really bright lights, but this is actually museum quality glass in here, which will protect it, which is great. And we do that for almost everything we have in here to keep them from getting damaged. So, the hope story, let me show you how that translates into hope springs eternal, right? Ta-da! Before my framer retired, I was like, Patty, I have to have that frame. And so she completely ordered the pieces and made the frame. It's even got museum glass in it for me. All I have to do is stitch MH My Beloved. and then, you know, get it put in here. So this is what hope looks like for a shop owner or a needle worker. And now I just have to keep up with it and not break it until I actually find all the time I need, which I forget how long Sharon said that took her. She's an excellent needle worker. But, you know, that's quite a bit of stitching. It is. And right now, I'm lucky to sleep at night, let alone have time to stitch something like that. So, anyway, I will wrap it back up in the bubble wrap. I only unwrapped it for you because I thought you would find that entertaining. So if you feel bad, you know, about sometimes you plan ahead for things, don't. There are people in the world who would actually have a custom frame cut and made with museum quality glass and then just wait until they had time to stitch that piece. So let's hope that my eyesight and my hand dexterity holds out until I find some time to stitch MH My Beloved and get it put in that frame. But I just thought the frame was just perfect for it. And I knew if Patty was gone, my framer, that I may not find that again. And if I put it off until I had the piece stitched, probably not going to happen. So that's also motivation. You know, hope sometimes translates into motivation. And so I'm going to call that motivation. And we'll get it done eventually. So, yeah, that's that. And that, my friends, I believe was all I had planned to share with you today. I feel like this is a short video because I did so much of it yesterday, and I'm just jumping in here on the tail end with this ending part. But, you know, I hope you enjoy some of the things that we're putting online for you. I appreciate all the positive feedback and all the positive comments. You know, it's been great, and I hope you're learning from it. We are working hard to get everything shipped out to you. You know, we got a few big bubbles in our shipping from, you know, some promotions that we did. And so we, you know, are working through that with our little skeleton crew. And I know that lots of you want to know where your stuff is. And, you know that we have your order and that we're doing our best to get it put out to you. But we literally have 2 people here. And that is to keep everybody safe. And, you know, not expose people because we just don't know, you know, what's going on out there. And, you know, the folks that work here, they go home and they come here. And if they have to go to the grocery store, they're extremely careful about it. We know where our people are. And we have to do that because if one of us in the shop here gets sick, and, you know, that could happen, you know, it will basically shut us down because we just can't do it with any less people. And if one person gets exposed, you don't want to expose anybody else. So just like you, we're trying to be as careful as we can, and we're trying to get all your stuff out to you. So I know it's hard to wait, and I apologize for that. We have put notices up on our webpage that we are, you know, two weeks behind, basically, just to be honest. For most orders, for some orders, we try to nip them and get them out. I'm the only person who, you know, is cutting fabric right now. So, you know, it just takes time. If you can't wait for it, you know, let us know. There's really not a lot else we can do about that. I will tell you, though, that we really appreciate your support. So I want to thank you for that. Thank you for all the love that you've given us in forms of encouragement, by words, by emails, by posts, and by pictures of things that you're stitching, and by supporting us with orders. So we do appreciate that. And I appreciate all those of you who understand that we are really working hard and doing our best to get this stuff out to you. I just can't make it go any faster because I can't bring in more people because that would create exposure right now. Okay, so with that, I hope you have a fabulous week out in front of you. I hope that you are doing some good stitching. I hope that you're learning some new things and just having fun. And we will see you back next time. So you can either join us for the learning stitches where we're doing the specialty stitches on the banding. You could jump in and join us with the beginning needlepoint, or you can hang out and come back here and join us for another little fun chat. The next time we do one of these fun chats, we're doing another trunk show. So we've got a crazy great set of trunk shows here. We've got Jeanette Douglas here. We've got Heartstring Samplery here. We've got beautiful models from Queenstown Samplers. So we have tons of beautiful, wonderful things here. And for those designers who've allowed us to treasure those things, thank you so much for that. We love it. And we're going to share all of that with you in the upcoming couple of weeks. So come back and see us and stay home and stay safe. Bye.